Hi, and welcome to Drawing with Steffi. I decided to do a new tutorial today, and we are going to do a Pegasus, since so many of y'all liked the unicorn one we did a while ago. As usual, if you'd like to see more of my art and more of my tutorials, please check out my DeviantArt account at lady-cybercat.deviantart.com. You can see lots of nifty stuff there and get notified when I'm doing live stream events, auctions for art, and just lots of nifty stuff. So let's get started here. As usual, I'm using Paint Tool Sai. You don't have to use a digital program. I just find it's easier, and you guys can see what I'm doing so much better than what you can when I'm using a piece of paper. I'm using an Intuos 5 Wacom tablet. Whoops. And let's get started here. Fix up my brush here. Oops. A little bit too fuzzy. Let's see, there we go. And let's clear that off. Alrighty. Now, as usual, I'm using a nice bright red color so you guys can see what I'm doing. There are colored pencils you can use if you're using just paper. Highly recommend them. Make sure they're the kind that can erase, though. Alright, let's back this up a little bit so we can use the whole paper. Here we go. So I always do like using reference if I'm going to draw something, but today we're just going to do this off the fly. I like building up my drawings using shapes. I find that's just easier. And what you can do also is just little thumbnails of something. If you're not sure how you want to draw something, you know, just do some little sketches at first. Give you an idea of kind of what you'd like to do and positions. Just doodle. You know, it's like, well, if you don't like that, you know, try something else. You know, and, you know, don't spend a lot of time on it. You know, just use construction lines, simple stuff to, you know, kind of figure out what you want the figure to look like. Just the basic shape and pose. I kind of like that there. So we're going to erase this. Sometimes when I'm doing a sketch, I, you know, spend quite a long time working on thumbnails. You know, and I just do them small and then I make them bigger. I'm going to flip this around, make it a little bit easier for me to sketch. It's another reason I really like drawing digitally, is you can manipulate stuff so much easier. So I'm going to fade that out with the opacity and make a new layer on top. And I'm going to get started here. A lot of times there's no real spot that you have to start at. I like usually starting at the head. I'm going to lower this down a little bit more so we can have wings in there easier. There we go. How about I change colors here so you can see what I'm doing a little bit better. I'm going to use blue. And if you've seen any of those How to Draw 50 Animal books, it's the same kind of concept here. You know, just using those construction lines and break it up into simple shapes. And, you know, it helps to look at real animals and study them and decide, okay, well, how far are its legs from its body, you know, and find ways to break up the shapes to make them more simple. And just because you started drawing something doesn't mean you have to commit to it. You know, change things up if you find that you just don't like how it's looking. See, I've changed the positions of the legs a little bit. You never want to start out your drawing and then just, you know, never change it. You know, if something doesn't look right, it's okay to change it. Now see, I think he's a little bit too short in the middle. Oops. I'll move him out a little bit better. So he's got a little bit more waist, basically. And I've drawn a lot of horses, so that's why I'm not using any reference today. I kind of know what the basic shapes are of the various bone structures in the muscle. But, you know, even I still go back to reference. I have a bunch of reference photos of horses that I look at and study when I want something to look really nice and realistic. But this is just going to be kind of sketchy and toony, so it's okay if it's not quite 100% accurate. Nice big mane. Alrighty, I'm going to stick the eyeball in there a little bit. I'm going to flip this around. I flip things around because it makes it easier to draw sometimes. One of the things that people used to do, as I've said in other tutorials, is, you know, when you flip it around or look at it in a mirror or flip it over on a light table, it's a way to help find mistakes you wouldn't normally see otherwise. I'm more or less happy with this, so again I'm going to reduce the opacity on the layer, make a new layer. And I'm going to use red again because it's nice and bright. And I'm going to come back in and start filling in the details and making more corrections. Don't worry, we'll add in the wings. We're just going to do that separately since there's so much going on already. And again, this is going to only be a light sketch, so I'm not looking to have some serious line weight going on just yet. And see, I'm not going over my lines exactly because there's still some things that need to be fixed and changed. But now I'm taking a little bit more time to think about what I want it to look like. Give it some personality. Nice big chin. Horses kind of have big noses. But horses also come in a variety of shapes when it comes to the face, depending upon the different breeds. Let me turn this around again. Give it a little bit more toony of an eye. A little bit bigger. There we go. And they have a little bit of a kind of a jawline there. There we go. And we're going to start working on the ears. Don't want them too long, because then they'll look like donkeys. These are probably a little thicker than they need to be, but that's alright. And horses have a lot of different kind of skeletal structure in their faces. So that's something you definitely want to look at some photos, or just check out real horses if you can, to get a better idea of where the line should be, because there's an awful lot of detail in a horse's face. And we need to make his chest a little bit deeper here. Get the shoulder muscle in there. I think I made it a little bit too deep. We'll bring that up just a little bit. There we go. They have fairly big knee joints. Now I like to give my Pegasus kind of feathers at the hocks. You don't have to, I just like it. I like fuzzy. And again, kind of just making corrections on the fly as needed. Add in those feathers again. Don't want them swayed back too much. And then nice big powerful legs. And again, the shapes of a lot of these things, it's just a lot of it is practice and just studying how things should look. And the more you do it, the better at it you'll get. It's like everything else, just practice. Practice and study. I think I made that a little bit too low. And that's how you'll know. You'll start drawing, and the more you draw it, you'll start realizing where things need to be, and you'll start seeing where things aren't quite right. And you just, erase it and keep going. I think his leg is going back a little bit too far, so we're going to move that in a little bit more. There we go. I'll make sure all the hooves kind of line up on the same part. This is going to be a little bit higher than this one because it's further back. And in the fluff. And we'll give her a nice big tail here. Make it nice and held high. I'm going to add in the mane. This way it's mostly going the other way. We're going to have a few coming this way. The rest is going to be flying out this direction. And of course some in the forehead, some bangs. Alrighty, so now we have a fairly decent looking horse here. Make the belly a little bit bigger. There we go. I'm mostly happy with that. Alright, so now to make it a Pegasus, we've got to add some wings. Let me save this real quick. It's always important to save often when you're using digital because you never know when something's going to happen. It's the worst thing in the world to start working on something and then have, the power go out or, something to happen and you suddenly lose all your data. It's also very important to save under a different name every time you save because you don't want it to get corrupted. Alrighty, so now we're going to do the same thing as before. I'm going to switch back to some blue. Kind of sketch out lightly where we want the wings to go. And again, break it down into kind of simple shapes. A little too close there. And because I want to still show most of the body, I'm going to have her wings be up. You want to think of it as just like a bird's wing. It's kind of like your arm. This part here is kind of like where the hand would be. And this is again something you'd want to, just do some studies of bird wings because there are lots of different style of bird wings. They all look a little bit different. Kind of just box out the shape I want here. There we go. And turn this around again. I'm going to fade the horse out just a little bit so we can focus mostly on the wings there. Again, I'm going to fade those out and go to another color to make it easier. And I'm going to sketch out this with a little bit more detail. Now I like to add a little bit of feathers just where it starts. And there's usually a fairly heavy coating of down-like feathers along the fleshy part of the wing. I'll flip this around again just because it's easier. And then there's usually some feathers that come up around this way. These are kind of simplified. It's not as simplified as it could be, but and then start drawing in some feathers. And then we'll do some of the longer ones. There we go. And then kind of the primaries here. Again, not doing a whole lot of detail because I'm still just filling things in. And I'm not going to give a lot of detail to the one back here because you don't want it to look overly busy. I'm just going to kind of draw the outline of the feathers. And that back there can just be in shadow. Alright, and we'll bring all these back up. Okay, flip it around some more. And then I'm going to erase part of the original drawing because you wouldn't see that part because the wings are in front. And there we go, we have a Pegasus. And again, you'd want to come back in again and continue detailing. Just making more corrections as needed, putting more detail into the tail, all the hairs and whatnot, probably the eyes. But I hope that gives you a good idea on how you can draw a Pegasus. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you have other questions or you would like to have suggestions on other things I can draw and sketch for you, I'd love to hear them. If you have questions, or you're having problems trying to do something, do not hesitate to ask. I love helping people out. Thanks again for watching. Have a great day. Bye-bye.